Pirates, corsairs, and filibusters from the United States Navy arrived into skipper petroleum tanker off the coast of Venezuela and seized 2 million barrels of oil for a total plunder of $100,000 of crude plus the cost of another $100,000 cost of the tanker, which was flown on a Guyanese flag with the excuse that it was sanctioned and linked to Iran oil trade. This piracy is concerning as the United States might employ this methodology to harass and loot oil trade beyond Venezuela into Iran or Russia. Foreign Minister of Venezuela, Yvan, shortly after receiving the news of piracy against Venezuelan trade, linked the episode to the failure of the Oslo show to convince the international community on a regime change proposal as a substitute for peace. Maritime law has been violated, and Venezuela will reserve the right to initiate all diplomatic and legal procedures for reimbursement or justice. However, it is known that United States likes to seize other countries' property, as happened to the Emtrasur airplane seized in Argentina and other Venezuelan planes seized at the Dominican Republic earlier this year and last year. President of Cuba, Díaz-Canel, and Foreign Minister of Cuba, Bruno Rodríguez Parrilla, immediately expressed full repudiation of this piracy act. Crude oil was supposed to arrive into Cuba on the basis of ALBA agreements, but the United States chose to use its military by force to take the oil into United States refineries without having paid for it. It has become obvious that the regime change war is more linked to a desire to loot another sovereign country's resources rather than a fight for democracy or counter drug traffic. Human rights of Venezuelans who are entitled to live in a country devoid of sanctions and foreign harassment are not being considered by pirates, corsairs, and filibusters from the United States Navy. ALBA group of countries is also concerned as Venezuela is a major supplier of oil and gas to ALBA Caribbean countries, which are being increasingly harassed by the United States to stop their dealings with Venezuela to only concentrate to commerce with the United States. European and Asian countries are also harassed by the United States so that they do not purchase Russian oil and instead they purchase more remote American oil and gas, more expensive to transport and Iranian oil, of course, is most sanctioned. Free navigation will no longer be seen as an objective of the United States, and it is unfortunate that this heritage from the British Empire to loot and rob other countries remains significant as a United States policy. Similar methods were used by Great Britain to rob Trinidad and rob Essequibo from Venezuela, or rob the Malvinas Islands from Argentina, or Belize from Guatemala. It looks like English-speaking countries are in the business of piracying property of Spanish-speaking countries. In 1848, Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, under coercion, provoked that Mexico would surrender its territories of California, Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, Nevada, and parts of Colorado, and maybe Southern Oregon into the United States. United Nations recently decided that recent laws on not considering valid any treaties signed under coercion be applied retroactively, so that Mexico now seeks a way to demand compensation from the United States for having been stolen its territory. And nowadays, in December 2025, United States robs Venezuelan petroleum and Venezuelan operated ships under a Guyanese flag. Europe is also considering using frozen money from the Russians into banking system of Western countries in order to finance Ukraine's weapons purchases. United States and European countries have lost all credibility. They are not capitalistic but mercantilistic, pirates, filibusters, corsairs, thieves, and doing business with such countries is not recommended, as they will seize your assets and your trust at a moment's notice. Vladimir Putin, in accordance to strategic partnership with Venezuela, offered an urgency phone call to President of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro. He offered full support on Venezuela's claims for international law to be followed, and he reiterated that Russian delegation will arrive into Caracas on the year 2026 for the CAIN meeting, which is a joint development plan with objectives set forth until 2030. 19 high-level topics are being discussed in such plan. Sergei Lavrov, Foreign Minister of the Russian Federation, detailed a formal explanation from the United States about the legal procedures that, according to the United States, were applied for seizure of Skipper supertanker. International community deserves being well informed because there is not enough information on the motives United States applied for seizing a foreign vessel performing merchant trade on international waters. And at the House of Commons in the United Kingdom, English Commons parliamentary Jeremy Corbyn also addressed the concern that what just happened on Caribbean waters was an act of piracy, and he demanded United Kingdom government to strongly oppose such United States action. Unfortunately, United Kingdom is a vassal state of the United States, even though centuries ago it was the United Kingdom who taught piracy to the US, and the Minister of Interior of the United Kingdom just replied to Jeremy Corbyn that United States should be respected. It seems that United Kingdom government and monarchy will always be fond of looting. Pirates of the Caribbean was supposed to be a theme of the 17th and 18th centuries, as the British little by little collected treasures from Spain, France, the Netherlands, and Portugal. Now the United States is obstructing the petroleum business of Iran, Russia, and Venezuela. More reactions are expected to arrive from other members of the international community, as this topic, which is just generating as breaking news, will extend during the next few weeks or months. It will be necessary for petroleum fleets around the world to travel with military custody, because the United States acts as if the whole planet were a private business deal of Donald Trump's regime. Petroleum refineries linked to friends of Donald Trump are expected to profit from stolen Venezuelan oil. A government of thieves is the one that is promoting regime change in Venezuela, which happens to be governed more efficiently than the United States. Venezuela remains in peace, and after long years of sanctions-induced economic depression, we are consistently posting positive quarters of economic growth, whose cumulative effect should be seen to the benefit of Venezuelan population during the year 2026, and in contrast, economic situation of the United States continues deteriorating. The city of Miami has chosen a mayor from the Democrat Party after 30 years of corrupt Republican, Cuba and Venezuela regime change-oriented rule. It will be refreshing to see new leadership deal with Miami's local problems, such as crime and drug micro-trafficking, cost of living, ICE raids that often violate human rights. It will be absolutely refreshing to see how new leadership in Miami unfolds. Midterms will show a blue wave unless further representatives step out of Congress, which is still dominated by the Republican Party. So Mike Johnson has the possibility of being ousted as a speaker before midterms sometime early next year, as other congressmen may resign along with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Unpopularity of Donald Trump's regime is every time more notorious, while President Maduro has a repertoire of English songs that he sings to the American public every time he is interviewed by English-speaking media. And now he's singing to America, "Don't worry, be happy," which provides a significant boost in his favorability ratings, not only in Venezuelan public, but in United States public as well. Venezuelan military has been active in identifying and destroying illegal mining sites in southern Venezuela. Rare earth is highly sought by multinational companies, which often resort to illegal mining in countries such as Peru, Colombia, Venezuela, Congo, Burkina Faso, and it will be necessary that producing countries of rare earth organize ourselves in a similar fashion as there is already an OPEC organization of petroleum exporting countries. We also need an organization of rare earth exporting countries so that we can more efficiently regulate production conditions for rare earth minerals. Venezuelan military, beyond destroying illegal drug hub transportation facilities, is also destroying illegal mining sites and is expected to conduct a naval and air force exercise across the Gulf of Venezuela, which recently was visited by two hostile United States military aircraft. Venezuela needs to constantly patrol its territory and show its military muscle and might for deterrence as the United States continues provocations. This twist of the United States of initiating piracy methods on Venezuela's legal trade of oil has been surprising, as we were all expecting counter-drug operations to speedboats or a land invasion or tomahawk strikes into Venezuelan land. Perhaps Donald Trump, who is only interested in money, will actually show that he doesn't care of reaching change, he doesn't care of drug traffic, he only wants to loot Venezuelan oil. And maybe these kinds of seizures will become more common. Since Skipper supertanker has been linked to Iran, we might expect Iran to seize petroleum tankers belonging to the United States near Hormuz Strait, which is one of the most heavily traveled petroleum transportation routes in the world, as it is the passage for Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and United Arab Emirates oil and gas, in addition to Iran and Iraq. Iran's reaction and comments on this boat seizure to Venezuela is expected to be harsh. Iran has a history of closely helping Venezuela with these kinds of events. When the United States blocked Venezuelan petroleum trade during the COVID pandemic, Iran transported gasoline into Venezuela during several months across many oceans and at a huge cost. And when United States seized the Venezuelan plane previously bought from Iran, which was parked in Buenos Aires, Iran also offered extensive legal and diplomatic assistance to Venezuela. China, which is a main purchaser of Venezuelan petroleum, is expected to react as one of its major sources of crude is now being threatened to perform further commerce. In 1902 and 1903, there was a major sea blockade by England, Germany, and Italy against Venezuelan ports as they wanted to asphyxiate Venezuelan trade. And more than a century later, history wishes to be repeated. Western civilization is in decay. Instead of advancing, we are returning to the most horrible episodes of the colonial period. Post-colonialism and piracy should be strongly condemned and will define Venezuelan resistance to any kind of war United States chooses to impose upon us. Either Jürgen Watzne-Friednes must be removed from presidency of Norwegian Nobel Committee, or Nobel Peace Prize must be moved from Oslo to a neutral country. Today's speech was political, not pacifist. Massive multicultural anti-fascist protest activities are expected to accrue. Fascism and ethnic discrimination prevail among supporters of the Nobel War Prize. Jürgen Watzne-Friednes' accusations against Cuba, Russia, Iran, China, Venezuela, and Lebanon prevent a portion of the world's population from receiving fair diplomatic treatment. Intimidation does not foster peace. Harassment no longer works. We Venezuelans are immune to coercion. Those who support regime change resort to excessive psychological warfare. They cannot justify complicity in crimes against humanity. All that remains for them is to strangle our economy to generate artificial outrage. United States' new national security strategy seeks to align with Russia on European issues while confronting China, Iran, Venezuela, and Caribbean. Allies of Global South need to develop a global security strategy that is consistent with international law. If United States focuses on intercepting every vessel it deems a phantom ship or a sanctions violator, oil industries of Russia, Iran, and Venezuela will be equally threatened. Strengthening global security measures to guarantee maritime transit is essential. Trinidad was part of Venezuela until 1797, just as Essequibo was stolen in 1899. British and their heirs, such as United States, have a tendency of always stealing Venezuelan property. Yesterday, 3 million barrels of crude oil were stolen. Piracy alliances are deplorable. Caroni, Arima, Chaguanas, Tunapuna, Oropouche, Tamana, Tacarigua, Trinidad, San Rafael, Santa Cruz, San Fernando, Corozal, Morichal, Chaguaramas, Chacachacare, are all examples of Venezuelan, Amerindian, or Spanish names in Trinidad. In contrast, Tobago towns feature English names. Nicolas Maduro is expected to hold office during the following 1,855 days. Transfer of power to next president-elect will occur on January 10, 2031. Venezuela cherishes vicinity with Trinidad and Tobago. However, we shall militarily respond to any attack initiating there. Donald Trump is not Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Bilateral arrangements with Venezuela should exclusively be agreed upon between Nicolas Maduro and Kamla Persad Bisesar. Venezuela does not belong to United States. We are adequately defended by our own armed forces and alliances. We have prudently followed international law during these months of harassment. We shall take protective measures for our petroleum trade. Trinidad and Tobago should exert maximum caution during these times fulfilled with misjudgment. Venezuela has respected maritime borders and continues seeking peace. However, any military aggression originating in Trinidad and Tobago will be retaliated by Venezuela. Venezuela has close partnerships and alliances with Russia, China, Iran, Grenada, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dominica, Cuba, and Nicaragua. We strive to reach understanding on common matters of interest. Captaincy General of Venezuela was incorporated in 1777. It included provinces of Caracas, Trinidad, Cumaná, Margarita, Guyana, and Maracaibo.